I never did hard drugs because we as gang leaders were not allowed to do anything hard. No heroin, no meth, because that compromises you. Then you, for whatever, you might give up information.
Yeah.
I never drank alcohol in my entire life. And it wasn't for religion. When I was growing up, it was not because I was a Muslim. It was because I didn't like the way people acted when they were drunk. One of my friends got drunk and he peed himself. And I thought, I don't want out of control like that. So I never drank alcohol. I never did hard drugs because we as gang leaders were not allowed to do anything hard. No heroin, no meth, because that compromises you. Then you, for whatever, you might give up information. Yeah. So, I mean, I never smoked because I never saw the point in it. I did a lot of other bad things, but let's not talk about that. So anyways, at that time I was like, look, I'm done with that lifestyle. I'm sorry. I got to step away. I stepped away, but they were like, look, you can't step away. I mean, you know too much and this. I was like, look, I'm not a rat. I'm not going to, tell on you guys, like whatever happened. Don't worry about it. They were like, yeah, but rules are rules and it's blood out. So that began a very, very stressful chapter in my life. If you thought the earlier life was stressful, this was worse. Wow. Because now I had other gangs still trying to kill me because of old vendettas. And now I had my own gang that knew everything about me, what coffee I like, what tea I drink, every single detail of my life they knew. And they were trying to kill me. Jeez. So that time I basically used to sleep in my attic. And my attic had like a vent that looked out. So I would like look out from the slights, the little openings with weaponry all night. I would stay up because I know how they would do it. And it's the way I'd done it with them, which is you would wait till like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. when the person's about to fall asleep. And then, because you stay up all night, you party, but that time you just crash out. And then you just walk up and you just spray the whole house.
Holy crap.
And then what I was most worried about is my mom used to live with me, that she would get hit in the crossfire because bullets don't discriminate. Yeah. And I loved my mom. I still love my mom. She's been an amazing mother. So I was like, that I can't let that happen.
And she didn't know you were part of the gang, right?
Yeah. I mean, at this time, I told her a lot of the stuff. She knew that I was getting away from it. She supported me. She was with me. She didn't know a lot when it was happening. But after the fact, I mean, she knew a lot of the stuff. And she was an amazing mother. She was very strong. She said, look, I have your back, whatever, So, we weren't rich. We couldn't just get up and move somewhere, you know. So I started going to college, taking classes. I started working a regular job. I started paying my own bills, no drug money coming in. And that was great. But then at the same time, I'd have to, I started studying Islam. I started learning Arabic. I didn't know how to read Arabic or any of that, right? So I went to Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha. I wanted to really study because I didn't want to half-step anything. I didn't half-step the gang world, so I wasn't going to half-step being Muslim. So I absolutely cold turkey cut my friends out. So the first night was hard. Second, third, fourth week, 2 week, 3 weeks, it was difficult, but they didn't do anything. So I was like, that's strange. But they did know that I had a lot of guns, I mean, they knew because they knew, right? Yeah. So after a while, I started thinking, these are people I grew up with. These are people that I was very close to. These are people that we had crazy experiences with. And they don't know about Islam, and they don't know about another life that is away. A lot of these guys, their fathers were in the gang, their grandfather was in the gang, their brothers are in the gang, their uncles are in the gang. So that's all they know, right? So to them, how for you, maybe get up in the morning, hit the gym, drink a shake or whatever, drink your coffee. That's your daily routine. That's what you know, right? To them, you get up at noon, you walk into school and, teachers don't say anything to you and you sell your drugs and you stab somebody and you go home at night and light up whatever and hang out till 4 a.m. That's literally all they know. So I said, I think it's my job to go and tell them about Islam and tell them about, you can get out of the gang world, So I decided to go back, but to preach to them. Wow. So I said, okay, if I go in my car, and I had an old gangster looking car, so they might confuse me for another gang, or they might figure out it's me. And like I said, the hood had lookouts. These young guys, we paid them just to be on rooftops that if they saw something, they used to have these old cell phones, and they would page a code that meant either cops or enemies or whatever. So I said, if they see me, they're going to send a code. It's going to, might just start shooting. So I said, I'm not going to go armed. I'm going to be unarmed, and I'm going to walk. And I was wearing like a thobe, like a robe like this, and I had like a turban on, and I started to grow my beard out, so I looked different. So I can't even, and this is 1995, so I mean, this is not like, people didn't know what a Muslim was at the time.
Yeah.
So I was walking into the alley, and at first they didn't recognize me. They were just like, who's this weird looking guy in a dress or whatever, right? When I got closer and they recognized me, they were like, what's this guy doing here? So one of my really good friends that I grew up with, he was also a leader in the gang, and I remember him very well. I remember till today, he looked at me, he goes, I swear to God, you will not walk out of this alley alive. We were thinking how to kill you in a way that you don't kill a lot of us. And you've walked here. They were like, are you armed? I was like, I'm not armed. And they were like, I swear to God, you're not going to walk out of here alive.
Wow.
There's no way in hell you're going to walk out of this alley alive. So I told him, look, life and death, whatever, man. We've seen so much death, but let me just speak to you. Give me 5 minutes, And they're like, all right. So I started talking. I was like, look, this guy got killed. This guy got killed. Look at his mom. She's struggling. Look at his kids. They're orphaned. Look at his girl. Now she's, sleeping with all these guys because she's got to make these bills and this. Like, what was the point of what they did? Like, the gang, like, what good did they do for them? And some of them started crying, because they had the emotions. They're human beings. They're not monsters. They're not robots. They're not AI, So they started feeling what I'm saying. And some of them were like shaking their head. Some of them were like nodding, like, So one of the guys, he was a big leader, a veterano OG guy. He walked up, he said, look, you're not a rat. You're not going to the cops. You're good. You did it for religion. Just walk away. Walk away. We're not going to harm you. Just walk away. But don't talk to us anymore because you're messing us up. So I told him no. I told him, look, if you guys come to the mosque, I'm going to make some food. We'll hang out. Then I'll walk away. And they were like, look, we'll make it an open invite. Whoever wants to come can come. I said, all right, cool. So I walked away, and about 12 of them became Muslim and left the gang world.
Wow.
Yeah, but a lot of them later on, like I just did a podcast recently. I haven't posted it yet.
Yeah.
With one of the guys that was still in it that caught up with me recently. And he got out as well. He's not Muslim. He's Christian, actually. But we're both working on trying to help gang members leave the gang world today and find a better life.